Let's talk Buffalo Sabres hockey. Not such good times for quite some time now. They haven't won 2 straight games since December 11th and 13th. They've lost 2 in a row quite a few times. What is going on? Is there starting to be a little more heat on Phil Housley and Jason Botterill in Buffalo?
Wise man's been saying for a pretty long time, and this ain't here, that maybe it was a coach the entire time. I'm talking like this because I was right, and you know I was right the entire time. Mike, come on, you fight me on this stuff, but it's becoming very obvious, based on his matchup problems, based on his time on ice. I want to bring something up. Have you looked at the time on ice average for the Buffalo Sabres so far this season? No, you haven't, because you're not as smart as I am. Jack Eichel is averaging over 20 minutes on ice a game, which is fine. The problem is, he's the 3rd highest time on ice average player on that team. He's only lower than 2 defensemen, Bogosian and Rasmus Ristolainen, which are your time eaters. But the problem is, Jack Eichel plays intense hockey, right? He's always moving. The offense goes through him. He breaks it out. He brings it over. The problem is this. The reason they're losing games the way they are at the end of the game is because, and I know I've been killing him, and I feel bad about it, but Housley does not know how to manage his talent, time on ice. He relies on that top line too much. He doesn't give them enough of a breath, and by the time 5 minutes in the third rolls around, like what happened last week against the Rangers, like what happened in Tuesday night's game, they just die. They have nothing left. It's on the coach. It's the system. You have the talent to win. You need a coach that can help them win.
You have had a lot of games where for 40 minutes, they're fine. They're either in the lead or they're right there, and they end up losing 6-2 that Rangers game. And, of course, the Devils, the way that they lost to the Devils, and now, of course, just this past week, Florida. You have 3 games against bottom feeders in the Eastern Conference. They get 0 points out of it.
I think it's a combination. To Pat's point, you see them physically in that way, and then they panic. They seem to. When they get rattled, it goes bad, and it goes bad in a hurry. In the game on Tuesday night, against Florida, there were 3 goals in 2.5 minutes, and they were scrambling. Each one of those goals, they just looked flawed. They looked like they had problems.
But I think it's more than panic. I think that Housley has this weird old school combined with new school mentality where he wants to run this new system that's revolutionary defensively, but then he has that old school mentality where you make a mistake, I'm going to sit you down. Well, if you sit down your guys that can play when they make a mistake, guess what? The guys that can't, that are next in line, aren't as good as those guys, which means another goal is also coming. You're setting yourself up for defeat. It drives me insane to watch these games. I'm pulling my hair out, and I need my hair. It's all I have left, guys. Driving me crazy. It's time to move.
But what about the GM? I mean, Jason Botterill's the guy who brought him in. Jason Botterill's the guy who made this team. I'm starting to see more heat start coming around him for what the Sabres team has been doing these last couple months.
What is that shrug?
No, I'm saying it goes downhill, right? A little bit.
No,
right?
You think this is Botterill's fault?
No, I'm saying
You think that any of this is on the shoulders of Jason Botterill?
No, I'm saying, you know the phrase is, it flows downhill, right? So he's the general manager, and yes, he did pick his head coach, but we know, you've talked about it a lot. We know what's going on right here in Rochester. That team responds. That team plays well. That team plays well no matter what changes they've made. And there's a relationship between the general manager in Buffalo and the head coach in Rochester.
I have been seeing people on social media starting to blame the general manager for this, which is absolutely insane because he's just cleaning up the mess from the general manager that was a complete tire fire that came before him. How can you be upset with Jason Botterill when he pulled in Jeff Skinner for Cliff Pooh? Cliff
Great name.
Pooh!
You just want to say Cliff.
I was going to say Pooh again on television.
Dan knows Botterill.
Where were they last year at this time, and where are they now?
Certainly in a better situation now. Just it feels different now because last year everyone was doom and gloom from the start.
Right.
This year 10-game win streak, everyone got their hopes up. That absolutely seems to have set up some unrealistic expectations, right? A 10-game win streak and boom, now all of a sudden you're more the team people thought they might be early.
Amherst are playing pretty well, right?
Yep.
I think you have to look at it from a 30,000 feet. I mean, if it's getting better, it's not going to change overnight. You got to push to make the playoffs, and then hopefully those younger guys, that stuff's going to start working
Real
out.
quick, there's got to be a risk to firing another coach after just 2 years, right? And just continuously cycling these guys through?
There is, and there might be a savior here. The deadline's coming up. The Sabres should stand pat, but it's like a historical, crazy offseason for restricted free agents in the NHL. Right now, there are so many teams that are good with young, expensive players they have to pay. They're not going to be able to do it. If the Sabres can stand pat, the only thing that might save Housley is you end up offer sheeting or signing one of these young players, a Mitch Marner, for example, a couple of guys out in Winnipeg, a couple of guys that are playing in Tampa Bay. That could be what saves you and flips you immediately for next season.
And that's Botterill's specialty. I mean, he's a great cap guy. I mean, he gets the numbers, and he'll bring in the right guys to to make that cap work, and
See what happens.
Just need time.
Yeah. Trade deadline coming up on Monday.